Hello guys and welcome back, Carchatters 004.
Making good progress.
We are indeed,
Yes.
And to kickstart things off, we have another very special guest. Someone, again, that I don't really know very well, but he is a big part of the car scene. And without further ado, let's introduce him. Aaron.
Yes, Jonny, come on down.
Hey!
Guys. Nice to meet
Johnny.
you. How are you doing?
Do a fist pump, so I'm not too well. I'm a bit ill.
Yeah, so last episode, Aaron was plagued with hay fever, and
And
now
I've just got
you're
a
plagued
cold.
with cold, and we're going to die of Ebola. Or
I think I'm just allergic to coming here. Maybe I should just stop.
yeah.
Don't know. Anyway, we digress.
But yeah, anyway, Johnny, for those guys that don't know you, introduce yourself.
So my name's Jonny. I run a YouTube channel called JB CTR. Stands for Jonny Bedworth's Car and Technology Reviews. So a few years ago, started doing tech reviews, and then I got a Fiesta ST, started doing the car stuff, and that just seems to be doing quite well. So now I'm sort of sticking with the car stuff on JB CTR, and
Yeah, because
I'm here.
yeah, because obviously we didn't really know each other that well until we saw each other at the last SMMT,
That's it.
which was quite a carnage event.
I mean,
We were
what a day that
yeah,
was.
it was.
Yeah.
It was a great day. It always is, though, isn't it? Every single test day I've been to.
It's great, but rushed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I found that.
Yeah.
It's very case of you're literally jumping in and out of cars like no one's business.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Like a tit in a tramp.
And it was quite funny because we had two different approaches. I was just driving cars all day, not really taking much interest to filming, and there was you, you had all your cameras
Yeah.
set out and everything. I was like, bloody hell, I couldn't do that. I could
So
not do that.
SMMT, for you guys who don't know the day, basically all the manufacturers get together, they bring along their latest and greatest releases, and then if you are approved, you're allowed to literally just grab the keys and then
Yeah.
go around Millbrook.
It's like wine tasting, but with cars, or speed dating, but
Yeah,
with cars.
definitely.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
mean-
I mean, for me, because I'm quite a small channel, getting cars is an absolute pain in the arse.
Yeah, I know
So SMMT is a great way for the likes of me and of yourselves
Yeah.
Yes.
to get in cars that you wouldn't have necessarily got from the manufacturer themselves. So
Must admit, I got behind the wheel of a fair few, but one of my highlights was the A35. I don't know if you tried that.
see, I'm not a big fan of it, to be fair. I kind of saw the point. Well, why did they bring it out?
I
They should
tried.
just-
Well, to make more money. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Come
True.
on. You know,
Very
let's not make
Yeah.
no bones about it. I tried to get into it, but it was so difficult to get into. I think it would have been easier to get into a nun's knickers. It was so difficult. Every time I went, there's people waiting for it. The last time I went to the Mercedes stand,
Yeah.
there was 3 people waiting for it. And bearing in mind it's getting towards the end of the day, I was like,
yeah.
I'll give it a miss. I really wanted to drive it, but at the same time, it's like I'm not going to wait like an hour and a half to drive it. I'm sure I'll get another opportunity to drive it. So
So
See,
I
my
really
highlight was the G-Wagon of the whole day, to be fair.
So
Doing
I
100
enjoyed
mile an hour, 100 mile an hour on a bowl, and it's like literally a feather.
Spoken like a true Essex boy.
Yeah, G-Wagon.
Shut up.
So going back to the A35,
Yeah.
for me, that car was the biggest surprise of the day because I was expecting like a lukewarm, like half-assed attempt at like a hot A class.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. It was really similar to the old A45. So I cannot wait for the current A45.
Yeah,
That's
it's
going to
gonna
be
be interesting.
mental.
What did you think of the noise of the A35? So I heard it drive past me at the event. It might have been you, and it just sounded a little bit
Wheezy.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah, I think that's
Didn't have much character to it, really, for what it is.
I heard it. I thought, what's that? I turned around. It's the A35. I thought, oh, that's a bit.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a cough and then a splutter with the pops and bangs. It's not. But then I feel like they've done that intentionally to sort of rein it back a bit because they've got to do that, haven't they? Let's be honest. They've got marketing
leave
and
some
all that.
room for the A45 when it does eventually come.
Yeah.
Which they announced at Goodwood, which I didn't go to. You did.
I saw it at Goodwood.
I didn't go either,
Yeah.
just because so busy and just couldn't afford it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it looked spectacular. I mean, I've not
It does
heard it
look good.
running, but it looks amazing.
Yeah.
So I think they've done.
And in terms
Touch wood,
of
a good job with it.
from, because I've only seen it from pictures, in the flesh, is it different to the A35, or have they gone the same
So it's
route with
gone.
like Ford, where they've done like the trim levels with the ST? But yeah, it looks like an ST line almost.
So I don't know about the trim lines and stuff, but I
Yeah.
mean the stance of it is much more angular. Like it's got wider flared arches, which are
Yeah,
not like in your face, but
Yeah.
when you look at it and you're like,
there is a
"Ooh,
there is a difference.
well,
but,
actually, yeah. And I just think it looks absolutely mean. Much better than the old one. Much better than the old one. Or that's controversial, I think.
Yeah, I wonder. I wasn't a massive fan of the old A-Class. I thought it looked, I don't know, some of you may think I'm mad, but a little bit, it looked like a kind of a squashed MPV. I don't know, just the shape and proportion seems to be a little bit off. And if you get an A45 AMG without the aero pack, it just doesn't look right. It
doesn't look right without the aero pack. It doesn't
But
at all.
I tell you what, that car has aged amazingly well. So if you think it came out in like
the original one,
the old A-Class.
Do you think?
Well, it came out in like 2012, 2013. I mean, that's a long time.
Johnny has got a point. I mean, are you talking about the A45 or the A-Class?
Just the A-Class in general.
Oh, okay.
I think it's aged very well. I think if you see one on the road, say maybe a 12 or a 13 plate with a private reg on it, I don't think you'd know.
Really?
Genuinely, I think they've really stood the test of time as a car.
Oh.
So in terms of Goodwood, was that your first ever time going Goodwood, or have you been?
No, I tend to go most years, to be honest.
Okay.
It's a good event.
It is one of the events of the calendar.
Yeah.
This year, I did the Land Rover experience for the first time.
Okay.
Which was okay.
Yeah, I did it. I did it when I first went, and you have to wait hours and.
Yeah, you wait for ages.
So like, I did the whole 4 days. So I dedicated
Did
the
you?
Thursday. Yeah, I dedicated the Thursday to just doing all the like experiences. So we did like the Porsche one.
Yeah.
You know, like skidding around in a Cayenne in the field. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
But you wait in like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
So the Land Rover experience specifically was a bit of a letdown for me because it looks really impressive when you're stood watching it and it's sort of contorting itself.
Is it when they go up on all the ramps and they've got all the undulations and?
But when you're in there, the guy who's sort of showing you, because you're not allowed to drive, he just tells you to look at the screen, and the screen tells you what it's doing underneath your feet, but he's not driving it. You just point it in the right direction and away it goes. And for me, I like a car that I can sort of drive and.
And then obviously Jaguar are usually there, and they've got like a thing where they do like drifting and you can be a passenger. And
that looks like good fun.
So I was there for the 4 days. So I dedicated that Thursday just to doing those things, and then Friday, Saturday, and so forth. I was just going around looking at the hill climb, all that kind of stuff. So
I tell you what, there was this year they had a live feed from inside the drift cars, and they put it up on the big screen so everyone can see.
Oh, wicked!
And I'll never forget seeing this slightly older lady, should we say, desperately trying to take a selfie whilst being drifted around. And it was just like, oh, how embarrassing.
I don't think that's possible, is it, to do that kind of thing? You should know what you're in for,
just like, oh. But I tell you what, the highlight stand for me, Goodwood, this year, I don't know if they do it every year, was actually Jeep.
Oh, really?
So Jeep had off-road, similar kind of stuff to the Land Rover, where they've got like your massive climbs, and they had a seesaw and all that stuff.
Okay.
But they were allowing you to drive it.
Oh, wow.
So they were teaching you how to drive over a seesaw.
Yeah.
And they had a thing that was like a massive speed bump.
Yeah.
And if you tried to drive over it, you're just going to ground out. So you have to sort of like drive up.
Yeah, because you don't usually get that sort of interaction where you can be the centre of it.
Not normally, especially at Goodwood. Yeah. It's more a case of the manufacturers.
Very trusting.
Sort of take over,
yeah. The instructors in the car, spot on. Absolutely wicked. They were really, really good. There was the only issue we had with they have guys on each of the obstacles like lining people up. Yeah. And there was a guy trying to line us up for the seesaw. Yeah. And he started off by going like this and then like this. And we were like, all right, I understand what he's doing. And then he started doing like this, and we were like, what do you want?
Landing a plane, eh?
Was he doing a Macarena or something?
I have no idea what he was doing. But the guy in the car was just like,
I don't know.
Was he okay? No idea.
Quick, someone give him an EpiPen.
And speaking of Goodwood, Ford were there, and you obviously have your ST.
Indeed.
So what made you buy one? Because obviously when you started YouTube, for those that don't know, you started doing tech stuff.
Yeah. So I owned a Fiesta ST Mk7 for 4 years. Yeah.
Can I just quickly jump in before I forget the question? Was there a reason why you didn't feature it on your channel? So I sort of move things on. I just wanted to ask
I wouldn't. When I got it, I wasn't doing YouTube.
Yeah.
And I modified it purely for my own enjoyment. I loved it. I really enjoyed sort of modifying it and did a few track days with it, and it was great. I loved it. Yeah, and then I started the YouTube thing, sort of maybe a year before I needed a new car. Sort of intending to get a car to do on YouTube.
Right. I see. Okay.
And then I did the rounds of all the sort of Audi S3s, Golf Rs, M2. In fact. Looking at things to buy, and I was so close to buying an M2.
Really?
But the reason I didn't is because I justified it in the sense of, will it give me 25, 30 grand more fun than a Fiesta ST?
It's a
No.
very good,
And actually,
very good conclusion.
no,
yeah.
it didn't. So I
Yeah.
thought I'd save my cash, buy another Fiesta, of which I've got a wealth of knowledge on,
Yeah.
and then just go from there. And that knowledge is pretty transferable because they're actually quite similar
Yeah.
underneath.
So what did you do to your Mark 7?
The
Like, in terms of
Mark 7.
modification?
So
Yeah.
it went to Mounttune's Stage 2 package, which is intercooler, downpipe, intake.
The
That's the
MR230.
MR230. That's
yeah.
it. So I did that. That was all right. It was
Yeah.
not too bad.
That's all right. Yeah, that's all right.
It was all right.
Yeah, so I mean, I owned, well, my fiance owned a Mark 7 ST,
Yeah.
and we went the full Monty. In terms of we did the Perron hybrid turbo and all that stuff. So
Wow,
it was running
yeah, yeah.
about 280, 290. It was insane thing. And we knew Rob from
Yeah,
SEC,
yeah.
and when she had it, it was like one of the first in the country. It was before any of the dealers got it.
Yeah.
So she was with Rob, and they did like all the development Revo stuff because originally Perron worked with Revo
Yeah.
when they first started doing the hybrid turbos.
Oh, okay.
So we did like the sort of similar thing that you did with that Revo give you the chance to like beta test it almost.
That's it. Yeah.
Which
yeah.
I love about Revo. That's like the awesomest thing ever. It gives you a chance. It makes you feel special in a way, like you're testing something that
Yeah.
isn't out yet. So you can go, hey, look at me, I've got Revo before everyone else. So yeah, it did obviously a lot of stuff with that, and yeah, it's a cracking car.
That's all right.
It did about 30,000 miles on the hybrid turbo, and no problems at all until obviously we got rid of it. But even then, it's still mechanically sound.
So the Revo 330 package on a Fiesta ST,
Yeah, it is crazy.
mental.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that
Absolutely
video.
mental.
Just it looked like a
Yeah.
rocket ship. It really.
Because
It
obviously from that point when we had hybrid turbo, they developed it so much more from there.
Yeah.
So that from then we was getting about 280, and now like they're almost getting like 400 breakout turbo kits now
That's
and
it.
those things. It's just absolutely madness.
So Revo, that turbo is completely new turbo. I
Yeah.
think it's actually used in the VW world.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
it's what-
Turbo Technics one, I think it is, or is it not? Or
It's
is it a
bespoke by Revo,
Oh,
but they
yeah.
use the chassis of a VW one, I think.
Yeah.
But what they were doing previously, which is what I think you had, is they take the stock turbo and just sort of bore
yeah,
it
they
out a
bore
bit.
it out. Yeah, it's a standard
And then-
housing.
That's it.
Because how it worked was you basically exchange your standard turbo,
That's it.
and then obviously they'd make that standard turbo, take out all the turbine and make it bigger, bore
That's
it
it.
out. So yeah, it was effectively because they had a lot of problems with like the throttle response.
Yeah.
Like with the bigger turbos, they just couldn't map. They couldn't figure out the mapping and all that. So the hybrid turbo was the way forward at that time, and until they started learning the car more. But yeah, it was a cracking.
I mean, the problem with boring out the standard one is there's obviously the shaft that goes in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too technical. That's your limiting factor.
Yeah.
Because you cannot bore out the shaft that's in the middle. Hence why they used a bigger chassis for this one.
Yeah.
Thicker shaft, stronger welds, all that kind of stuff.
But yeah,
And
it's
it's-
just crazy. It just transforms the car, insane. It's just like you're in a different car. It's just how Ford should have made it, and even maybe brought a Fiesta RS out because it's there
I'd love
for
to see
it.
a Fiesta RS.
It would be absolutely
So
mega.
I would love to see a Fiesta RS too, but I am 99.9% sure it's never going to come.
Yeah, it's
and
not
that's
happening.
purely
No.
because of marketing.
Yeah.
Because it will stomp all over the Focus ST.
Yeah.
and-
Ford want to actually do it, but marketing are stopping them because they've priced it where they've got the Focus, and obviously the Focus makes more numbers, it sells better.
Actually, the Fiesta ST you can spec up to nearly Focus money now,
It's
which
insane.
is
It's
silly.
insane.
It is a bit silly.
So, yeah, because obviously I've ordered the ST Performance.
Yeah.
And that's 26.5 grand. They released the price on that Goodwood.
Stunning car. that is.
Yeah, but it's
Stunning.
just like it's crazy money. So
But the new Focus ST, that's not exactly cheap.
that's like 33, 34 grand, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think once you add options, which, I'm a big fast Ford fan, but that's so close to Golf R's, Civic Type R. I know
Yeah.
the Mk8 Civic Type R is due for a facelift soon anyway, but still, the thing is, what concerns me is if the Focus ST is starting around 33,000 pounds. Don't quote me for prices, but what would the Focus RS start at? You're then looking at a car which could almost be 40,000 pounds
Yeah.
But then,
for a fast Ford. They're meant to be affordable to a degree. Blue collar hero, working class hero. So that does concern me.
but for me, I think Ford are really trying to up their game. So they have upped their game with
Yeah.
like interior quality.
Oh, yeah.
everything is up.
Leaps and bounds.
I mean, when you look at the Mark 7 to the Mark 8 and
Oh yeah, it's just night and day.
I bet that was a breath of fresh air when you moved.
Oh yeah,
from there.
yeah,
It's such a nice interior for the
it
new
is.
one.
It is.
But going back to the new Focus RS, and purely speculating, if you look at what it's up against, so the RS3s, the M2s of this world, you can spec them 55,
I know,
60.
it's
True.
crazy. It is
True.
crazy.
So if they're going after that,
But the argument is that you're paying for a Ford, you're not in that sense. You're paying an Audi, you're paying Mercedes.
yeah, that's true.
But there is things that are going to happen on the RS. Like they're going to apparently do a mild hybrid system on it, so it's going to be.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It's going
I
to
think,
be absolutely mega.
yeah, I think nowadays, you will see more and more performance cars and hot hatches have to have some element of hybrid powertrain, even if it's just a mild hybrid, just to kind of keep the emissions down. And obviously, the EU regulations are getting stricter and stricter and stricter and stricter. So obviously, the car manufacturers have to do whatever they can.
Ford are heavily invested in that kind of technology at the minute. So
yeah,
again, it kind of makes sense that they're going.
I think everything's going that way. To be honest, I mean the supercars are already pretty much there.
Definitely.
It will just start filtering down now.
It's not all bad, because you look at cars like the this week saw the unveiling of the I don't know how to pronounce it, the Lotus Evija. Evija.
They always
But anyway,
names.
£2 million supercar, hypercar, and I believe at this moment in time, it's the most powerful production car.
Yeah.
It's mental, isn't it? Absolutely.
So as much as I'm sure you guys and me, we love proper ICE, internal combustion engines, but maybe electric isn't all bad. I think we may get to a point where we'd go, but I love electric.
I don't think electric is the future.
I don't think the infrastructure's there. That's the problem.
No, and obviously that opens up a whole other can
and
of worms.
I think the way it's going, the electric car market is growing too fast for that infrastructure to grow.
Yeah.
I think the issue we got with electric cars is if we look at the reason we're moving to electric is to get away from fossil fuels.
Yeah.
But the problem you've got is lithium batteries use fossil fuels.
Yeah, exactly.
You need fossil fuels to make the lithium battery. So for me, electric is a stopgap. So the reason I say it's a stopgap is because it does make a success of pulling emissions away from towns and cities to you can have it in the desert because you just need to create electricity. But it's not going to help the world because you're still producing.
And that's why I think it's not the future. And I think the future, correct me if I'm wrong, will be hydrogen sourced cars and stuff like that.
Again, that's a very hot talking point. And when I had the Nissan Leaf earlier this year, although that feels like a lifetime ago, I mentioned hydrogen, and I had a lot of strong opinions come back at me on YouTube. And someone said, "Oh, hydrogen is unstable. How would you like to have that, in your car?" And I pointed this out to a chap called Kevin who owns the Fastest Shed. You've probably seen it on social media. And we had this conversation. He said, "Yeah, but what about petrol? When you set fire to that, that's also quite unstable. So that's a stupid argument." It's like. Oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? but obviously, we can.
But again, with hydrogen, I've read about it, and again, the infrastructure isn't the easiest to build.
No. Getting hydrogen as an element, if I'm not mistaken, is abundant, but actually trying to get to it and kind of mine it, so to speak, is actually a very tricky affair. Which is why I think a lot of car manufacturers. But the end
result to it is less using fossil fuels to actually
and what I like about hydrogen is that you can just go to a station, obviously there's very few in the UK, and just fill up like you would petrol or diesel, whereas electric cars you have to wait around, sort of drag your heels for half an hour.
Because even with electric cars being here now, and obviously they're advancing batteries where you can charge them in half an hour, but that's still half an hour to charge a car up.
Coffee shops are going to make a fortune. They really are. Because especially if they start locating themselves next to charging points.
I can just about keep myself busy for 5 minutes, let alone half an hour. What? That to me is just a waste of time, waiting half an hour to charge a car up. It's just madness.
Yeah, imagine how much of your life you will spend waiting for a charge.
I lived with a Nissan Leaf for a week. As much as it is a good car, I was quite relieved to hand it back. Really? Purely because it's funny how much my lifestyle changed in 1 week. Now, for what it's worth, I couldn't charge the car at my work because the car park was too far away from any building or any electrical points. I couldn't charge it at home because I live in a flat. So really, I'm not the best example to showcase how an EV can fit into your life. But
you also show its flaws big time. Because
let's face it, a lot of people do live in flats.
Yeah.
And obviously I know new flats which are being built, some of them have communal charging points.
It's funny to touch on that whole flats thing, because flats generally in cities, is that not where the Leaf should be?
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And therefore the majority of the target market live in flats.
But also, like in London now, with new buildings, they're cracking down on you having driveways and ways to park. So most new builds now, you have no way of, you don't have any car parking spaces, nothing.
It's street
obviously
parking.
Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, you don't have street parking because you're so in the city, there isn't really nowhere to park. Because obviously it's an incentive to stop people driving and use public transport, but at the same time, you're right, with electric cars in the city, you'd think people in apartments and stuff need ways of charging.
Yeah.
So just sort of going back to the hydrogen side of life, I drove a hydrogen car. I really wish I'd featured it on my channel.
Was it the Nexo?
It was
the Hyundai.
Hyundai, that's it.
Yeah,
iX40 or something.
Oh, the iX40, okay.
It was a 4x4 thing. And I tell you what, it was the most uneventful drive ever. I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting like a wow factor, but it's just like driving an electric car. They're instant torque, you race off the line and then...
Because I've just brought out a new law with electric cars that they now have to make noise. I don't know if you've seen that. They actually have to make noise as if it's an exhaust. I'm not
surprised.
Yeah,
from the
31st of July, I think it's...
The thing is, a lot of them do, but because it's quite subtle, you wouldn't really notice it until it's too late.
Have you heard the Renault Zoe?
No, I haven't.
That makes a weird noise. So only below 30 mile an hour, and it makes a sound like Darth Vader kind of sound. It's like, and if I heard that, I would not associate it with a car.
Yeah.
So it's
go, it's Darth.
It's just, it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
But obviously, we didn't invite you to talk about electric cars and hydrogen. so we've digressed massively. So let's get back to your Fiesta, your Mark 8. I know we're speaking about your Mark 7. So you've done a few things to your Mark 8. Now, one question I have for you is, are you concerned that the modifications you've done have voided your warranty? Because it is a brand new car.
So it's a real difficult question to answer, because it hasn't voided the warranty in the sense that everything's gone.
Right.
So the way I understand it is your warranty covers the whole car.
Yeah.
And then the bits you change, you start voiding the warranty against that bit.
Ah, I see.
So, at the moment I've got a bit of water ingress in one of my wing mirror things, which is purely warranty. Now, clearly my remap has not caused water ingress in mine. So therefore that's still warranty.
But some manufacturers can get very pedantic about that.
So even if it doesn't, Ford are very, very good with modifications. The reason I say that is
they have to be, because
I think
it's a good chance it will become modified at some point.
And they're obviously used to it because of the tyres with mounting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because when I had my RS, and obviously we had the big engine problems, at the time they were actually really bad with who was tuning it, in terms of if it was Revo or whatever. So when it was mounting, I still had a nightmare trying to get warranty work done on it. But it got to the point where, because it was a common fault and they knew it, they couldn't argue if you had it tuned by Revo or Dream Science or whatever. They had to do it. It's a very touchy subject.
It's what I mean, like things like modifications that I would say are absolutely fine to do under warranty. Exhausts is probably one of the best ones, because you void the warranty on your exhaust, but then it's no longer there. So you've got a new warranty with your shiny one.
Exactly.
And things, if you really wanted to, if you needed to take the car back for whatever reason, you could just put the old one back on.
Indeed. Although you do have to cut.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you have to cut. I think you have to cut it almost near. Is it near downpipe or just off?
No, it's just GPFs now, isn't it? On the Mark 8.
Oh yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
I mean, some people are removing them, but that is borderline illegal, I would say.
Well, I'd imagine.
So I thought I'd sneeze.
Yeah.
I'd imagine it'd fail MOT without it.
There's
obviously there's a reason they're there for emissions. Obviously.
Yeah. So I reckon there's currently no car on the road with a GPF that is old enough to have an MOT. That's where we are. So it's kind of like a grey area, but they have just, I think, specified the rules for DPFs, as in diesel particulate.
Which is always
So I reckon GPFs will just be lumped straight into that. I.e., if your car is fitted with one, it must be present at the MOT. And
makes sense.
To be fair, like mine is proper noisy with it being fully legal.
Because they only just brought them in about a year or 18 months ago, didn't they?
That's it.
And obviously MOTs are come to 3 years at that point, so I'd imagine they'd bring something in the near future.
Are interesting from a tuning perspective, because if they are a legal requirement to have an MOT, is it going to become a bit like cats where
you just bore them out?
Well, people can bore it out, but I was thinking more, do you reckon the exhaust manufacturers are going to start looking to sport GPS in the same way you have a sport cat? Because obviously cats started in the same way. So I reckon that might be something we might be looking at, and that could be quite interesting. That could be really interesting, I think.
You didn't hear it here.
So you've had your car done by Revo. You've got the Miltech exhaust, if I'm not mistaken. You've got a few other bits and bobs. You haven't got the new brakes yet, have you?
So I put on it's sort of like, it's not a big brake kit, but it's like the best you can make the stock brakes.
You've enhanced the stock.
So I've got braided hoses, race fluids, Ferodo pads in it, although they are road pads, which upset a few people. And then I've also got milled discs. So the genuine Ford discs, and then you can mill patterns into them. So I've gone for C-hooks. So they look a bit like Alcon discs, but they're not Alcon discs, clearly. But you can also have grooved ones. And what that does is it helps to basically scrape the pad clear. Because when they get hot, they glaze over and then they're not as good. So if you've got something on your disc,
allows to disperse the heat off the pad as such.
So I mean, arguably it gives somewhere for trapped gases to go. I'm not sure if that's much, but the greatest advantage is it scraping it off and keeping the face of the plant clean and not glazing.
So you've done a few things to the car. What's next? What are your other plans in regard to modifications, if any?
So currently, as we speak, my car is in my garage in bits because I feel I've focused a lot on that performance side, and I've basically done nearly everything that's on the market at present to the car, which is really sad. But yes, I've done that, but it still looked like a stock car other than being a little bit lower. So currently, as this is being filmed, although I imagine when this is up, all of my videos will be up around what I'm currently doing, which is all in the visual space. So I've done a little bit of wrapping on it. I've done some splitters and stuff, and just making it look nice.
TRC splitters, or is it?
I've gone TRC this time. Also went for the Maxton Design spoiler cap, just to give it a little bit of a lip. I think that was one of the biggest criticisms of the Mk8 Fiesta ST, is that it was still quite a raucous car, but the looks were pretty sedate.
So, I still prefer the Mk7 in regard to looks, but the Mk8 is definitely the better overall car. Dare I say I'd probably want a Mk8 with the Mk8 kind of engineering, Mk8 interior, but the Mk7 exterior. Is that a little bit controversial?
It's very controversial, I think. So I hated the Mk8 when it came out, and I was like, never going to buy one of them. And then obviously I came round, I looked.
See, I said the exact same thing just because of the engine.
It wasn't the engine, it was the looks. For me,
it
was the looks.
Like, because that 1.6 turbo engine in the Mk7
solid
was just tuner's paradise. As soon as it came out, because we hadn't seen a turbocharged Fiesta for a while. It was just like, oh my god, turbo Fiesta finally coming back. And then when they revealed the Mk8 and it was a 1.5 3-cylinder, I was like, really? And it's
a nice engine though,
but from seeing yours, because it's stage 2, is it stage 2 now?
No,
it's stage 1.
Stage 1. It's got ECU software, that's it.
Because it's stage 1, it's like 240, isn't it?
So mine was dynoed at 263.
No.
So I don't know. Obviously, the dynos are sort of a bit of a lottery.
Was it just a rolling dyno?
It was a Dyno Dynamics. Strap it down, rolling one.
Because usually you put it on a wheel dyno where you bolt hubs into it to get the most accurate reading as you can. So it'd be pretty spicy RS outside.
Sorry, there's a Mark II Focus RS outside, which I'm pretty sure is making that noise. Either that or someone has fired up their Berlingo.
And that's my point. Speaking of from the Mark II RS to the Mark III RS, the engine. Really, what should have happened was the Mark III, they should have put the 2.5 engine into it, and it would have absolutely made it an absolute weapon.
And the problem with that is emissions. And it ruins everyone's fun because that sounds incredible.
It does. But you never know, someone might have just fired up the Berlingo. I'm testing. I'm testing a Berlingo this week for my channel. Jesus almighty. Christ on a bike, that is loud.
And because we are in Essex, I hear that all the time. So
Yeah.
nothing new to me. Nothing new to me.
That's like an Essex lullaby.
Yeah, it is indeed.
So actually, that brings me on to an interesting question.
A question for us? No, you can't come on here.
Yeah, who do you think you are? Yeah, off you go.
Pop and bang maps or overrun maps. What are your thoughts?
See, that Focus RS outside, that is a bit too much for me. That's a little bit chavtastic. I don't mind them. I think the way how the Mark 8 sounds out of the box is fantastic. I think it's just the right amount, but not too much. The same goes for the Focus RS. Again, just about enough, but not too much. And even the Hyundai i30N, again, that makes a great sound.
It does.
So I like it, but I think it's very easy to overstep the mark. It's a very thin line between sounding good and sounding distasteful. So what about yourself, Chris?
See, for me, I'm very OCD with like tuning cars. So I want it to be the best of the best.
Yeah.
And putting a pop and bang map on it, or they call them decel maps, don't they?
Decel, overrun.
Yeah, I'm not too big of a fan of it. And I was speaking to the guy that runs Perron, Charlie, and at the time there was obviously that big craze for it. And he at the start was, I don't want to do it because it's not what my company's about. I like to have like, I don't know if you've seen Perron stuff. All like the hardware is like all like milled. It's like a piece of art, and that's how his company comes across, and that's how I like to come across when I map and run cars or whatever I do to him. So I don't really like them, and with those kind of maps, that pop and bang or lift off throttle, and it does it all the time. It would get to a point where it would just drive you nuts.
I was sorry to cut in quickly, but I was working the other day. I don't know what car it was because I couldn't see out the window. But this car went by, it lifted off as bang, 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 bang. And I was like, wow, that's a bit too much. But the thing is, it was that every time he lifted off, you never know. I thought, how do you live with that? I mean, they were so loud, they sounded like gunshots. I kid you not. I think, okay, that must be quite fun for about a minute, but living with that must be a nightmare.
Yeah. So that is the advantage of it being software, though, is that the Mark 8...
just change it.
Well, you can do, but the Mark 8, you've got drive modes.
That's what I love about the
just turn it off.
So with Revo, what have they done to the software as such? Like obviously they've made more power.
So obviously the most notable is power. Everywhere.
Power!
All drive modes, power increased. So comfort mode keeps the sloppy throttle. So it's comfortable.
So there is modulation in the throttle with the modes in terms of there's different. You can feel difference. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the normal mode, sloppy throttle. But it's still quick. Just no pops and bangs or anything like that. Sport mode is traction control on. And throttle response has been increased to a point where I actually quite like it. I don't believe Revo changed that in their software because the stock is pretty good. And then obviously you've got the overrun. Revo's overrun is very slightly enhanced. There's a few more than stock, purely because I think that's what the people want.
Have they mapped any of the traction? Like done anything to the traction drive?
Nope. I imagine that's probably saved for later software, but I mean, I've no idea what they've got.
Because I think Mountain have mapped it in now to their kit, traction and launch controlling as well. So you can do launch control without high revs.
You weren't a massive fan of the Mountain, were you?
Only because their USP is warranty friendly.
And obviously the new kit isn't.
And the new kit isn't.
Which I think is bonkers.
But then they're not producing anywhere near the same power as the competitors.
But that's always
it's always been Mountain, granted.
There's rumours that rumours. I have to stress that enough. That apparently Ford Performance are going to have their own kind of enhanced package, which is why, obviously, not conflict of interest, but they're going to go, oh, Mountain is not warranty safe, but we've got our own product with it, which is honestly, I can't see that happening, but.
My fiance used to work at Mountain. She used to be part of the performance team, so she used to deal with all the customer stuff. And when I had my RS, I was just getting everything put on it.
Because why wouldn't you?
And obviously at that point with the RS, because Mountain Performance made that RS, they developed it and did all the stuff with it. And obviously when they did the warranty kit, they said to Mountain it has to have full performance on that badge, otherwise it's not warranty approved. So that's how it's gone. And I think, as you just said, I think it's going to get to the point where Mountain not really going to be able to do as much. So it will just be the kits that they just do more power and it's not warranty friendly.
Let's be honest. Why would Ford not do it in-house? Like, why would they do
I know
that?
they've got the resources, haven't
Outsource.
they?
I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
They've got all the engineers just sat there.
I think it's more of a. I think it's more of an economy thing in terms of money.
Yeah,
Ford have obviously got to outlay money to have a whole division doing that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
now because they're at the level they are and they've obviously seen there's a market for it, it's a no-brainer for Ford, really.
For me, I don't actually think that there is a bigger tuner-based manufacturer than Ford on the market. I mean, VW may be.
I mean, obviously the likes of Revo help that with the vaccine, but I'd agree. Ford, with any Ford car, there's tuners just jumping on it left, right, centre.
Because let's count them out. We're going to miss a few. So obviously you've got Mount Tune, Revo, Perron, Collins Performance, Dream Science. We've also got
Puma Speed.
Actually, I think that RS outside is Puma Speed. Who else? I'm sure we've missed someone else.
I'm sure we have. 6.
I'm sure it's a really obvious one.
There's loads of like little niche ones.
But the point is that there's so many tuners for Ford. You've got so many choices, which is fantastic, really.
And actually, that's one of the reasons why I bought the car. Is because I knew about the tuning potential, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Which means the tuning market behind Ford is actually driving sales for them. So why would they not encourage it?
Yeah, exactly. So I think the way Mansion are going to go is they're going to be like Revo, where they have obviously they're still going to do Ford work, but they'll be doing a lot more intense stuff. And I think that will be a lot better because they've been held back with Ford because they have to keep such a reputation and their brand. They can't be doing like stupid, ridiculous power on cars and then I'm not saying Revo or anyone like that causes reliability issues, but it's more of a likelihood of chance. So it's kind of why Mansion have always been a bit tame.
So what is interesting is Mansion have started looking at VW now.
Yeah, they have.
Really?
Well,
I didn't know that.
See, this is the thing with Mansion; they're very slow.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if you heard stories about their stock levels and all that. This isn't a bitching contest about Mansion, but my fiance was in to deal with it, and at that time they were looking at it, and that was like 2 years ago. So it's taken them that long to do things with it. So, but there's always a process with it, and
I'm actually really interested in that little venture that they're doing because they've teamed up with 1552, which are not a small company.
The thing is, for me, I feel it's too late. It's almost a little bit too late for them to be jumping into it. But I think because of who they are, it doesn't really matter how late late they come into it because they've got such a brand that ekes loads of professionalism with what they provide in terms of hardware.
They've been in the game a long time.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
I mean, they've done motorsport. They've done all sorts. I mean, they've got some real heritage behind them.
Yeah, definitely. They do all the touring car engines for all the Ford stuff. They do loads of other stuff.
But you say they're late to the market with the VW stuff. They might actually be just in time because if you think about the Mk8 Golf R was due out within the next 6 months to a year. And then if you look at the Mk8 Fiesta, when that came out, a whole load of new people came in, and suddenly now they're really popular.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, as a Delta styling, they're just they do they came into competition with Triple R Composites to do splitters and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously the Mk7 and before TRC, everyone had it.
Yeah.
And now on the Mk8, it seems that everyone's got Delta Performance.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, new cars come out, and then this new guys come in, and now they're taking everything. So for Mountune to come into the VW scene now, I think might actually.
Yeah, you just hope Mountune will be quick with it in terms of getting the process into. Because with their Ford stuff, they would have the car 18 months before, and they'd be doing development on it 18 months before. So they'd have when they had the previous Focus ST, they had the engine, they had the they had the Focus. No, sorry, this is for the 1.6 EcoBoost and the Mk7. They'd have the engine in the Focus to disguise it, so you wouldn't see it. Yeah. And that's how they do like development and all that stuff on the road. So it's quite a clever way. You don't know about it.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
And that was, and actually, when I don't know if you've seen the Sweeney, the Sweeney film.
Yeah, with Plan B. Yeah,
they did a Top Gear film with it.
Yeah.
And that car actually had the Mk7 EcoBoost engine in it. It didn't have the 2 litre EcoBoost in it, so they were testing it at that point.
That's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah. But, so with your Fiesta, because you've jumped from a Mk7 to a Mk8, how do you find the power and because
absolutely wicked.
Is it miles? Is it different to the Mk7 in terms of is it faster or?
Are we talking stock for stock or my modified?
I'd say stock for stock first.
So stock for stock, actually, the Mk8 was a bit disappointing for me. Maybe it's because I was coming from a MRT30 Mk7 backwards to a Mk8.
Yeah.
But the way it delivers power is so linear, it's almost boring.
Really?
There's no shove back of the old school turbo. Yeah. It's literally just.
But I was lucky enough to drive a Mk7 and a Mk8 back to back.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're definitely right. Well, you wouldn't be wrong. You've lived with both cars, but yeah, I'd definitely say the new car is more linear. And what disappoints me a little bit about the new car, although it's still a fantastic package, is I just found towards the just about, I think it's about 5,000 or 6,000 revs, it just kind of dies a little bit. Whereas the Mk7, it wants to keep going, and it feels a little bit more raw in its power delivery. Whereas the new car feels a little bit more grown up, which is great because it means it appeals to more buyers, and it kind of gives the car a broader audience. I'd say the Mk8 just feels a little bit refined, maybe.
I think considering how well the Mk7 was as a car, Ford have done really, really well to bring another Fiesta ST out.
That's just as good.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just as good, and so the way I see the two is they've improved on the Mk7. Everything that was a bit rubbish about the Mk7, they've corrected in the Mk8 and left the good bits. And they've done it's not often you see a manufacturer do that. They normally just ruin a good car. But this is, I mean, it's certainly not it's evolution rather than revolution. The Mk8.
Definitely.
But as I said, the engine is standard, real linear power, and to a point where it was a bit lackluster, I guess.
What, even in sport or race mode?
Yeah, I mean, it's quick, don't get me wrong, super quick. If you looked at the speedo, you're like, wow, I didn't realise I was doing that. But for me, driving's not about speed, it's about
the
feeling.
The chassis, balance.
So once the map was put on, did you get a lot more?
It's transformed it. It is the Revo package, which is just ECU software, it's not much. But it's just transformed it.
There's no hardware, it's just software, isn't it?
Literally just software. I mean, obviously you can couple it with induction kits and exhaust, although not officially supported. But yeah, it's a cracking piece of kit, and it transforms that linear power. I mean, it's still pretty linear, to be honest, but because there's so much of it, it's just like, wow, okay, here we go. And what I think the biggest thing for me was going from Mountain's MR230 package in the Mk7, which was stage 2 and lots of money because there's lots of hardware.
Lots of hardware. Lots of expensive hardware.
This is just software, and on a power level, it's blown the Mk7 out of the water, and it's just like,
isn't it?
Wow.
And considering it's a 3-cylinder engine as well.
That's a bit mental.
How much is the Revo Stage 1 for the Mk8?
I don't think it's that expensive. It's under £500.
Really?
Usually
Bloody hell, your one is pushing out 260.
So as I say, dyno lottery. Make of it what you will.
They're noting it as 240, aren't they? Around now, aren't they?
245 to 249, I think it is. Is the official figures.
That's so good.
Even there.
That's what just give or take 50 brake gain.
Yeah, just straight out.
And what about torque? What's the gain on torque?
I don't know off the top of my head actually. I should know that. But it's the torque. Weirdly, is where the grunt comes from.
Because that's where people get mistaken. They think, oh, I've got 50 brake gain, but it's not. It's actually the torque. Because of turbo cars, it's a little bit different with NA cars, but with turbo cars, it's the torque.
It's all torque.
So, for example, we've got a BMW 335D.
Yeah.
And that, in terms of torque, when you can get them mapped, you can get another 120 foot-pounds of torque put on it, just on a map.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That'd be like a train and pull like a train.
Well, you've been in it already, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
It doesn't hang about.
Yeah. And you can sit there on the motorway, and you can just look down, and you think you're doing one speed, but actually you're doing another speed, and you're like, oh my god.
Oops. Yeah.
It is. It's frightening. It is frightening, and that's because of that's turbo. The turbo does that.
Yeah.
It must be. So one of the biggest criticisms I've had from, I guess, people external to Fiesta ownership would be, how can you have that much power going through the front wheels? Which is a valid point, but the Mk8s now come with proper mechanical dips in them.
Yeah.
And it just, provided it's not wet, it really does, it puts the power down with absolutely no problem.
I saw your wet track day antics, and it looked a little bit frisky, a little bit of oversteer.
There's a funny story with that one. So I'm 100% sure I checked all the tyres, 100% sure. And we went out for literally a sighting lap, and the rear was all over the place. And I was like, what is going on with this car? I think that was about 6-7 PSI over what they should have been. And I have no idea how that happened. But I was like, right, let's sort these out. And as soon as I did that, the car was spot on. I mean, if you want oversteer, I mean, it's a car that you can really induce it. It literally does it on command. But yeah, too much pressure in the rear tyres just completely screws it. But it's good fun. Yeah, wicked fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming back to diff, a diff in a front wheel drive car is, forget doing any power mods or ECU mapping, anything like that. Putting a diff in a car makes literally a miles different.
Yeah.
And I've never driven a car with a diff before until my Civic.
Yeah.
And I put a plated diff in my Civic and then took it on a track day. And the fact that you can just come into a sharp hairpin at, well, I don't know if you've done SNET before.
I've not done SNET, no.
It's a great track.
There's a hairpin, and you go turn 1 and then into turn 2 there's a hairpin. It's like a full proper hairpin, and you can just pin the throttle, and there's no wheel spin, no nothing, and the car just powers out of it, and you're like, what? It's insane. And then when you jump into a car without a diff, and you try and, because Honda gave me the standard EP3, and I was driving mine back to back with it. And I literally could have killed myself with the EP3. I'm turning and I'm thinking, whoa, where's it going? And I was like, I'm going to go into a bush.
Tree.
Yeah, tree, yeah.
Tree. No, the apex is that way, that way, that way, that way.
But it's funny because with a plated diff, because of how it works, you can't, when you usually normally drive a car, when you turn, you can just like feed through the steering wheel and it pulls back to you.
It's very peculiar.
With this, you try and do it and it just pulls you the other way.
Yeah, I've driven that, so I know. It's very peculiar driving sensation. The first, I drove it for about 10 minutes. The first 2 or 3 minutes, people must think I was a drunk driver. Just, Chris, what have you broken? What have you done to your car?
And it's like the preload's like talked up to like maybe £100 or something. So it's literally like the arm workout that you do.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
But once you get used to it, it does feel. I wouldn't say more natural, but it just feels more confidence inspiring because once you get used to it, your car pretty much is a race car now.
Yeah, and when you take it on track, it's just.
Is it still road legal?
It is, yeah. Well, we can argue if it's road legal or not, but yeah, it's still got number plates on it and stuff.
It is, officer.
But actually, after this month, speaking now at the end of July, it's actually going to now become a full track car and be off the road. Just because it's got race suspension on it, it's not doing anything. It's not doing, the roads of the UK are not doing any wonders for it.
So I must admit, track cars and UK roads don't go well together.
Like, I mean, at some point you have to come to a track day and experience it for yourself, but there is no giving the suspension. It's like literally whoosh,
yeah. So it's not quite the same, but I took the SEC Performance Racing Citroen C1. I took it on a test drive around St Albans, and it's the most uncomfortable thing I think I have ever been in.
You braved it around St Albans and that thing.
Exactly. Oh my word! You find a speed bump and it takes you about half an hour to get over it because you're like, how can I do this? And I tell you what, full race harnesses on a road car. Don't do it.
That's what I've got in mind, and you can only live with it for so much, and like you can't, because you're so used to like turning, so you always rely on your mirror, of course, when you do like a right or left come into a lane, but you always look over your shoulder, and it's so hard to with a harness on.
And the annoying thing is if you need to get something out the glove box or just you need to.
I've had it before when I'm in petrol stations. I've done my harness up, and then I can't close the door. So I've gone, mate, can you close my door for me? And he's like, yeah, that's fine, mate. Why can't you do it? I've got harnesses on, I can't reach. And he's laughing at me.
Well, it's so annoying when you strap yourself in and you've realised, like, I don't know, you've put the car key on the passenger seat.
Oh no. Yeah. So
half an hour later.
So I followed the SEC Performance team into their Silverstone 24-hour
I watched the
race.
video. It's a wicked video.
And really one of the comments I got from the back of that video was, why are the pit crew pushing the car backwards? And again, that's because of the harness. As the driver has also got a helmet on.
Can't reverse. You can't reverse into garages during the live race.
No, but they pull in forwards.
Yeah.
To do your change and whatever, and then they've got to reverse back out into what is essentially oncoming traffic.
Right.
Because everyone else is leaving the pit. So it's much easier for the crew to look over the car and then push it back when it's safe, than to ask the driver to sort of try and check their mirrors with a helmet and a harness.
It's more the harness device. When you're driving normally with a harness, it's not bad. It's doable. With a harness device, you can literally just turn your head like that. You can't do any more. Yeah. So of course, it makes it difficult.
Yeah.
But that was a cracking day. I mean, anyone who says, "Oh, I don't want to watch Citroen C1s racing," just do it. Like, it doesn't really matter what car that you watch race. The fact that they've all got 60 horsepower. doesn't really matter. It's still hilarious.
Well,
to watch.
I drive a 107 every day.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
obviously
Same thing.
it's the same car, and it's I take the piss out of that thing.
Although it's interestingly, I think there's a bit of an issue going on there. So they only allow Citroen C1s to enter at the moment, despite the iGo and the 107 being the same, pretty much. But they've allowed all Citroen C1s to come in. So that's right the way back from 2006 or what have you, all the way till now. And I think the 2013 onwards bumpers, which were slightly reshapen, are more aerodynamic, which means you get more speed on the straight.
You get one more horsepower.
You get 3 temps on every lap. That front bumper.
You got someone in an older car, newer car goes by, freaking bumpers.
But and even though with these controlled race series, even with this C1, like we've got a friend who was on the last episode, Alex from Peak Performance Review, and he races KA Mark 1. And there's some cars that with air conditioning they had like 80 brake horsepower, but the ones without them only had 60 brake horsepower. And then there's people going out buying them, and then there's apparently a team that rebuilt the whole entire engine and it's actually quicker. And like he was saying, like when you're on the straight at Snetterton, they like pulling like that, and you're thinking like, how are they doing that?
Yeah.
And you can't tow them or anything, and they're just pulling away, and you're like, how is this? And there's always this thing about it in controlled race series where people try and do certain things to.
So with the C1s, there was only like 1 or 2 that seemed to be like leagues ahead of everyone else, and everyone else seemed to be really fair, which is actually one of the things I liked about the series.
Yeah.
Is everyone seemed to be on
a
pretty level.
Because those sort of championships are driver ability. So you'll see like with the KAs, like you'll see the first maybe 6 people, they're like really they're on the pace, and then the rest of them are like maybe like half a second or even a second off, and then they start getting slower and slower, and it's mental to see. Yeah. And those sort of cars you have to learn like how to control and how to take a corner and where to brake, where to accelerate.
It's all about keeping the speed because you've got no power to get the speed back up.
That's true.
So you've got to keep that speed.
But it's funny because I was on a track day. I was on my last track day, and Alex was there, and he was in the KA, and there was loads of KAs. They were so frustrating, but it's funny to see. It's so funny to see them. They're not braking. Yeah. But obviously, I'm carrying like double the speed. But they're not braking. You're like thinking, what? Brake!
To be fair, with those kind of cars though, they can brake super late because they've got no weight. There's no weight to them.
No weight and no speed.
Yeah. The thing with the Citroen C1s, watching them, you'd see them all go around in a corner because at Silverstone there was over 100 cars on the grid, which was mental. But anyway, you see them go into a corner and they are all literally leaning right on the very edge to the point where the rear wheel is nearly off the floor, which means if any of them touch each other when that car is in that state, you're over.
Because they're just rolling all over the place. One did roll, didn't they? I think
loads rolled. There's a team who rolled 3 times in 24 hours. It's just like, what? But it's all because if you're in that state, you're in a corner, and anyone touches you or nudges you, you're over.
Yeah.
You can't.
Because you lost balance completely.
You cannot really do much about that.
Isn't that?
But yeah, it's a cool race series. I would 100% recommend it.
I don't know how you videoed that whole 24-hour experience. You must have been absolutely dead by the end of it.
So I think about 3:30, I was like, I'll be sensible. I'll go get some sleep. So I went back to my car, and I think I laid there like wide awake for 10 minutes because all I could think about is could be missing something really cool.
Exactly.
And I'm glad I did get up because 5 a.m. all the cars started to fail, and obviously everyone's been up all night as well, and watching people trying to fix broken cars on no sleep.
Their temperament just goes to
tempers are fraying. Like people are just doing some really dumb stuff, and it's not because they are
holding
dumb.
It's just the wrong way.
That's even like when I watched Alex at Snet they did the 12-hour race, and because they're so competitive as a team, but they're all family. It was wicked environment. Like it must have been like how you were with SEC. But when like something happens and it doesn't go their way, and then the car comes into pit, like for example, they have to run their standard steel wheels.
That's it.
And because they've got the brakes, they've got no way to disperse heat. They're all in these steel wheels, and the wheels are actually splitting. Like the whole wheel was collapsing and cracking. Wow. So they're coming in, and the whole wheels are hanging off, and they're like running around, and then they start losing their patience and stuff. And it's funny. You can't laugh at that point, but. Yeah,
the C1s, they say the wheels are basically one-time use because they get hot because of the brakes, and then they're hitting curbs at decent speeds.
Yeah.
And because it's hot,
And then when
the
it
metal's
hit curves,
soft,
yeah,
and then
it
they
curves,
just
yeah.
they just bend and buckle. So they're literally one-time use in that scenario.
Oh, really?
But they're actually, apparently they're now looking in the Enduro K, Alex was telling me, they're actually allowing people to run a certain wheel, aftermarket wheel, to get around that problem. Because it is it's a safety issue really.
It is,
Just imagine you coming into a bend, like even a fast sweeping bend, they're probably doing 60, 70 mile an hour into it. Imagine that happens, that would be horrible.
I mean, it's not super high speed, but I still wouldn't want to crash at 70 mile an hour.
In something like that, regardless if it's got a roll cage or not.
Yeah, it's just...
So I think to end this podcast, how do you see your channel growing in the next 5 years? Like, what do you want to do from it? What do you want to get from it?
So for me, I started off literally just sharing stuff that I like, really. So obviously I like doing my Fiesta, and I think people who watch my videos actually get a lot out of them, especially if they own a Fiesta.
Yeah.
Even basic stuff like changing light bulbs. Like, it's not a difficult job, but if you can see someone else doing it, you know what you're going to expect when you start pulling the car apart. So hopefully they help people. That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
And then I also enjoy reviewing other cars just to see what else is out there. Hence the SMMT day.
Yeah.
That was
it's a
really good opportunity to do that. So for me it will be,
because I assume it's a hobby for you, really. Isn't it?
it's a full-on hobby for me. Absolutely love doing it. Car reviews will sort of like flitter in and out.
Yeah.
The Fiesta ST modifications will probably be a constant, and then obviously I'll move on to something different, and I'll probably do the same thing again and modify the hell out of it because I love it.
And for those that aren't too interested in cars, you're still doing tech videos, aren't you? You've actually just announced your...
So I've set up a new channel, aptly named JB CTR2, because, you know, I'm not the most imaginative of chaps.
Aaron, because obviously I spoke to Aaron, I told him that you're the next guest on the show.
Yeah.
And he went, what does CTR stand for?
Well, we thought it was Civic Type R. I thought Civic Type R, and Chris said, "There's got a Fiesta." I
must admit, I never crossed my mind when I set it up. And now I'm thinking maybe I should do a Civic Type R just because of the name.
But I watched. Like I said, I binge watched a lot of your videos this morning, and it wasn't until I think it's it's not your new title, but one of your newer titles.
Yeah.
It said cars and technology reviews. I was like, oh yeah, of course it is.
There it is.
Yeah. I felt so stupid. It's like, oh, because it
something
took
like
that long to
you
realise.
can't put your mind on it. Like, what does that stand for? And then when you actually go, oh, duh. Yeah, that's what it stands for.
So actually, I reckon the naming convention, although I've split them out now into cars and technology, so the technology channel will be very broad. I imagine it will be anything from vacuum cleaners to TVs.
Yeah.
But car and technology, I think, as two subjects,
are
actually
Aaron
really coming together.
You do quite a bit on some of the cars in terms of...
Yeah. So whenever I test a car now, back in the day, I would just do one video on it. Yeah. Whereas now I try to do more. I try to do a few videos on it just to kind of squeeze as much content as I can out of the car. And so I do infotainment reviews. So I just, it's quite a basic video really. It's quite a little bit dry, a little bit.
But it gives you a way to, when you do a normal review video, you kind of break the ice and you kind of add more detail doing something that covers a certain subject. Yeah. Because otherwise you just have a review video that's like 2 hours long.
And to be fair, the infotainment systems in
it's a big
some
part
of the cars,
some
of the new ones, they're so complex. It's like getting a new iPad. It's like it's a whole individual part.
It's like the Merc, for example, in the new A-Class.
That Merc is amazing. Yeah, that infotainment system.
Yeah, in the G-Wagon as well. I'm like thinking like, I don't even need a TV, man. I can just come and sit in the car.
It's so big, you can just live in a G-Wagon. Save on rent.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, as much as you save on rent, I'm sure you'd need to mortgage your house to afford it.
And to run it, and to insure it, and to tax it.
So JB CTR, cars, modifications, and then CTR2 is just going to be tech stuff. So that's where we're going.
So you're a typical
Subscribe.
YouTuber.
Do it now.
So you're a typical YouTuber. You're trying to monetize as much channels as you can.
Not really, because actually CTR2, I've realised how far I've come with CTR.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've got no monetization. Like I pay for my music to try and get decent music.
Yeah.
But that only covers one channel. So now I don't have any music for the other channel. So I've got to go and find free stuff because obviously no monetization.
Yeah, sure.
So it's really hard starting again. But I feel long term it will be better, especially for segregation.
Yeah.
Because now
Because obviously a lot of your growth recently has come
It's all
from the
cars.
fact of
Yeah.
cars.
yeah. And now if I were to upload a review of my TV,
They'll
it
think,
would feel a
who
bit.
is this guy?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
feel a bit weird. So yeah, that's why I've gone for the second channel route.
Okay.
So
Smart move.
indeed, smart TV.
Look, I make the crap jokes around
Yeah,
here.
sorry, that was particularly bad, if I'm honest.
And I think
that wasn't very smart.
Oh,
See, I told you I make the bad jokes around here.
And I think on that note,
Yes, on that
we
note,
have to
time to
finish.
end.
So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.
And of course, supporting Carchatters. A big thanks to Jonny for joining
Cheers,
us.
Thanks for the invite.
It's great to actually have someone that we don't actually know.
Yes.
It's really weird because I mean the last 2 guests we've had on, we've known quite well, haven't we? So,
yeah.
And I think that's a process that we're going to go through now in terms of have a little bit more diversity of people we have on. But no, a big thank you to come in because of course you've had to come from quite a way to come all the way here. So
Indeed.
all I can say is thank you very much. But if you guys would like to see anyone in particular, whether it's a car influencer, I hate saying that word, but whatever you want
I
to call
hate
it.
that word as well. I hate it with a passion.
Yeah, it's like a swear word. But yeah, if there's anyone in particular you'd like to have on the show where me and Aaron can spout bollocks to,
Yeah.
please do leave in the comments below. And of course I will leave all the details to Jonny. Make sure you go and watch him. You do make a really good video. Your
Thanks.
reviews are perfect in terms of editing quality and stuff.
Good music as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, other than that, thanks for watching. Take care, guys, and see
Have a
you
good one.
soon.
See you later.